What's up, guys? We are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy. And today we have a special little insight into our sales training and what we do with gym owners. So we're calling this sales training snapshots. So what we do on the sales calls is we'll listen sometimes to, in addition to like teaching stuff and whatever, we'll listen to sales calls and we'll dissect them in real time. So we'll actually go through, we'll pause the calls and we'll talk about some things. Hey, you should have did this. Hey, you should have did that. But on this one, we listened to the call fully, and then we recorded it for you guys so you can kind of hear the feedback. So it may be a little bit convoluted because you guys didn't hear the conversation, but you can pick up a lot of the points that we talked about. And one of the main things with this one was the woman was not ready to commit. She was not ready to commit to signing up, and she was very, very scared. And we kind of covered. I don't want to give too much of it away. But so this is kind of like what you do if someone's not ready to actually commit.
Right. And this gives you guys, like Anthony said, an insight into what we can do to help you really evaluate your ability on the phone. Because that phone call is crucial. That phone call is that component that takes a lead from cold to warm to actually get them to show up for your appointment. If your phone call isn't up to snuff, that person is going to no-show the appointment, or they're not even going to book one. And that's where the skill comes in, where you have to be a master of this craft. The phone call is very, very important. So if you're not recording phone calls and going over those either with yourself, if you're doing the calls, or with your team, if they're doing the calls, you've got to start doing that now. And if you need help to figure out where you're getting stuck, this episode will help you a ton. So when we do these sales training snapshots, make sure if you're struggling with the phone, listen all the way through, because there's golden nuggets through the entire thing to make sure you can get through phone objections. Nobody talks about phone objections. Everybody talks about objections in the meeting. We got to look at the phone objections, because that is the first line to get that person over the hump and actually get them excited about what you have to offer.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because no one talks about the phone call part of it. They all talk about, if they say they're not ready, then this, then this. But it's true. The phone call, and I've said this 100 times on the sales training, but the phone call sets up a meeting. And if you do the phone call correctly, you will get the lead very, very excited to start. They will trust you. They will begin to want to actually proceed in the program, and they won't have any objections on the back end. Typically, you're going to get those objections on the back end if the phone call doesn't go well and they just happen to show up. Or worse, you spend 15 minutes of wasted time with them on the phone and they don't show up. And again, this is why it's so important to track your numbers. And if you track the numbers, you will begin to see, as in me and Jimmy's situations as well, it all boiling down to the phone call. Once they come into the gym, that's kind of the easy part. They're in the gym, they see it, they get excited, they think it's possible, they see your transformations, they see other clients. So the possibility is there. But getting them into the gym is the hardest part. But if you can do that correctly, it's going to be a seamless transition into an actual paying member. But without further ado, if you guys are interested in having us help you with any of this, just click that link below and give this episode a listen. All right. So, overall, I think that was a good call, Laura. I think you did a good job. I like the fact that you called her out on the end and just said, like, well, why did you, what was your reasoning behind opting in, right? Like, why? What was your reasoning behind it? And she really didn't have an answer. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that. A couple of things I think you could have did a little bit better. I think you were just jumping from question to question. You're kind of like interviewing her a little bit. I think you needed to slow down and let her elaborate more on what's going on. She mentioned she was feeling good with Optavia or whatever it was that she did. But then you didn't ask, like, why? What about it made you feel so good? Did you lose weight during it? Like, you didn't elaborate. You're just like, well, what did you do? Okay, I did Optavia. Okay, awesome. What else did you do? Like, you didn't elaborate. You didn't let her talk. And I just felt like it was just question to question without letting her talk. And if we analyze that conversation, who spoke more? It was mostly you.
But it didn't seem like the lady was giving her much at the beginning.
No, I agree. But that's why you got to let her talk. It's so important that you just try to find a way to let them talk a little bit more. Because it seemed like Laura, she didn't give Laura anything. And it's because, remember, people opt in, then they get nervous because now they're like, oh shit, I actually have to do something about this. Like, now they're calling me, my foot's to the fire, so to say, I got to do this. So they get nervous and then they panic and they're not sure. She said it before. She said, I've done things in the past like this. So that means that she must have either did it and didn't have a good experience, or she's nervous about repeating that. So, this is why building the rapport and asking more questions, because another question that she could have asked her was, well, wait, Maria, tell me about that. So you said you did things like this in the past. What does that mean? What did you do? Let her talk, because then she'll say, oh, I did this other program and it didn't work for me. Well, why didn't it work for you? What do you think it was? And then you could get her talking, and then you could tell her like how you're different. So you really just got to have a little bit more of a conversation with that and a little less of interviewing. Jimmy, I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I've never heard that before like that. So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it was a hard call from the beginning. But then she called back, right? So
that's what I said.
So it's kind of like, it was a hard call from the beginning, but then she called back and she kept you on hold for a little bit. So it's like it's like she was waiting for, it's like she's waiting for the motivation, right? She's waiting for it to hit her one day and be like, oh, I'm motivated to actually do something about it now. But we all know she's never going to be, right? So instilling in her within the call the motivation from you that she can do it, and because she gave you no reason, right? There wasn't like she was traveling. It wasn't like she was, there wasn't something out in the ether that she could even grab. She just was like, I'm not motivated now. I'll reach out when I'm motivated. And part of it was, I think, price was shared before value was built, was the thing that pushed her over the edge to say, I'm not going to do it now, right? And it comes down to question, then response, then question, right? As opposed to conversation. And kind of like we were talking about last week, right? It comes down to conversation around it, because she started talking about whatever the program is that worked for her, and then the next statement was, well, we have a location here and a location there, right? And it's like, we got to dive into that to bring some value to what we're giving her. Like Anthony was saying, it's like, how did that work for you? Why didn't it work for you? What do you think? What's going on? And that could have got her across the buying line a little bit more. But it sounds like she was kind of calling out for help. But then once she learned the price, when the value wasn't built, she was like, oh, this isn't for me because it's too expensive. Even though she didn't say that, right? Is the gist
she stopped her previous program because it was expensive as well?
Yeah, that was Optivia she did. So do you know what Optivia is? Do you guys have that where you are?
I have no idea what that is.
So Optivia is basically like a cleanse type of a diet, and it's $500 a month. They send you like supplements, and it's really big over here. So it's basically you drink like shakes throughout the day and like vitamin supplements or whatever, and then you have one meal a day basically where it's like greens and like a protein. That's basically what it is. But it's like $500 a month. So a lot of people do it and they lose a bunch of weight because it's like a crash diet essentially. The crazy thing with that diet is it doesn't matter who does it, it's the calories are the same. So I had a guy once who was close to 300 pounds come to us, and he's like, yeah, me and my wife are on Optivia. So I was talking to him a little bit about it, and I said, well, how many calories does your wife eat? Because he was eating like nothing. He's like, the same. It's the same diet. I said, so wait, so it doesn't change? I said, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's $500 a month. So, but anyway, that's what that is. So she said she stopped it because it got expensive. So that means she was probably cheating on that and not seeing the results that she wanted to. And it got too hard for her. And then she got,
Yeah. So the big takeaway from this call is maybe this person wasn't a buyer from the beginning, right? Because they sounded kind of in that way, where it's that type of person that fills out the Facebook form because they want help, but they don't want to buy anything, right? So when somebody says they need the motivation to strike them and they're not ready right now because they're not going to commit to it, it's an opportunity for you to dive into the fact that you will keep them committed, that you will keep them motivated, that this program works to keep people in that exact situation. And there's opportunities to inject third-party verification stories within that conversation. Like, oh, Cindy, you remind me of Jenny. She had the same demeanor when we were on the phone, but she took a chance and scheduled an appointment and came in, and she's been a member for 1.5 years now and has lost 60 pounds. Does that sound like something that you'd want? Right? So you can inject these things to get somebody who's just filled out the form and they're going to say, I'm not motivated. I'm just going to, think about it or whatever on the phone. You can inject these TPV stories in the beginning to get more buy-in so you don't end up with that objection at the end. Hard to know with this specific individual, but that's kind of where the missing pieces were, I think. The conversation components were just not as present as they could have been. But this was a hard one. Like, I'll be honest with you, this was a hard one. Like, I would have been a little bit upset after this call ended because this person was being very cagey. But it's our job to break through that cage, which sometimes is easier than other times. So.
And remember, the fortune's in the follow-up. I've said that so many times to you guys before. I would schedule it in the calendar to follow up with this lady every week. Now you built a relationship with her. Hey, Maria, and maybe like just next week, you just follow up with her and just say, hey, Maria, how you doing? Oh, I think that was her name, Marie, whatever it was. Hey, Maria, how you doing? Just checking in on you. Just wanted to see how things are going. And then following me, hey, Maria, just checking in, but following up with her consistently, because I think that when she does start, she will probably end up doing good. It's just a matter of getting her over that hump and maybe trying to get her on the phone one more time and letting her talk, I think would be key. So the lead is never lost. She said she was going to reach out to you. I mean, people lie all the time, but for some reason, when she says that, I kind of I think that she genuinely wants to do something, but she's so unsure. She must have had a bad experience in the past, and that's what's stopping her. So I think you just need to follow up with her. So I would make sure I'd follow up with her for all of November. I would just keep following up with her. Send her a text, try to call her, and just be friendly with her. She wants to lose how much weight again? 50 pounds? What was it?
I think something like that, 30 to 50.
Yeah, so that's not easy to do. So I would definitely follow up with that. Greg, what are you thinking over there, buddy?
About her past experience, what do you mean? Like that Activia thing, she spent the $500 for the month and then just didn't do it? Is that what you mean? She sounds really non-committal. She knows she's gonna do something and then not do it, not follow through.
So I'm not talking about the Optivia because she mentioned at the end of the call that she did something similar, and I think she had a bad experience with that. So I don't think it's the Optivia that makes her not sure, because she was her tone picked up when she mentioned Optivia. She was kind of happy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
She kind of got uppity when she talked about Optivia. And then toward the end, she got really cagey and defensive when she said, I've done things like this before. So something must have happened in the past then. That's why you got to listen to how people say what they say, because there's a lot that she didn't say that you could pick up on something was going on. I mean, Jimmy, your experience, did you pick up on that same stuff that I did?
Yeah, it's the cagey nature came into the conversation when she realized that the call that she was on involved something that required more effort than she wanted to put in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in that, people are afraid to put the effort in because they think they're going to fail. Right. So they don't even want to take that step because they think they're wasting money. Because it's mental, it's within themselves, as they're not believing that they can actually achieve what they need to, because maybe she's done some training in the past. Maybe we don't know enough, right? So we got to ask more follow-ups in that moment to figure out what was missing from things she's tried in the past, whatever that means, right? So yes, we picked all that up in the tone, but it's one of these things that we have to be able to blow past and come back to the line where we're like, okay, how is this time going to be different? Why is this time going to be different for you? I believe it's going to be different for you because we've helped X amount of people that are like you. But what makes it different? Why is it going to be different now? I know things haven't worked for you in the past. I understand that. But what are the things that you've done And then you get into the things that she's done, and then you can point out what was missing from those things, right? Then you say this phrase that's like, I think I figured out what the problem is, Marcy, or whatever her name was, right? I think I figured out what the problem was. It sounds like you had the nutrition components with Octavia, but you didn't have the accountability component, and you didn't have the training component. And here at AB Fitness, we plug all those components together to make sure that you're successful. So let's get you scheduled for an initial appointment, right? Breathing that confidence into them in that meeting, in that phone call, gets the close on the appointment, right? Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to try to role play it a little bit more. Like, so Ellen, can you kind of be that lady? So you've heard her tone, how she was talking. Can you like be her? Laura, let's try again. Pretend like you got halfway through the call, and you know, you found out she wants to lose 50 pounds. So pick it up from there, start over, and Ellen's that lady. So Ellen, you want to lose whatever it was, 50 pounds. So you just found that out, Laura. Just pick it up from there, and let's see if you could kind of get a redo on this one and see how you could pick it up. Or you know what we'll do? Actually, let's do this instead. Let's do the follow-up call. So Laura, you're going to call her, like I said, because you're going to keep following up with her. So now you're following up with her 2 weeks later. So Ellen, you're going to still be that type of a person, but if she makes you feel comfortable enough, then open up to her, okay?
Okay.
Hey Maria, how are you? It's Laura from AB Fitness Center.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, nice to talk to you again. How's everything going?
Everything's okay.
All right, awesome. I just wanted to follow up with you to see if, you were still interested in improving your health and fitness.
Well, I still don't have that motivation, so like I said, I'd reach back out to you when I'm ready to get started.
Well, let me just ask you, since we spoke on the phone 2 weeks ago, do you feel like anything has changed? Has your, mindset changed anything?
I mean, I still need to lose 50 pounds.
Or do you feel like the last 2 weeks you're going towards your goal or kind of going away from your goal?
Probably away, honestly.
All right, well, let's not get you any further than you need to be. So like I said, we can just get you in for that initial first appointment, and we'll kind of go over everything more in detail on what we need to do to lose those 50 pounds.
Well, I'm not sure I'm ready to commit to doing something yet.
All right, I'm gonna take over. We'll start again. That was not bad, Laura. You gave it a shot. So, Laura, Ellen, you're gonna be the lady again, okay? I'm gonna call you.
Okay.
Hey, Maria, how you doing? It's Anthony from AB Fitness Center. And we're
Good.
also gonna
How are you?
pretend that I called you the first time, okay?
Yeah.
All right, Maria, how you doing? How's everything going since the last time we spoke?
Not bad.
All right, awesome. Maria, I can't help but think about our conversation that we had the last time. And before we hung up, you mentioned to me, you said, that you've done stuff like this in the past and it just never really worked out for you. And, we have a lot of people that are just like you that come to our gym that are so hesitant in the beginning because they've done other things in the past and it just didn't work out for them. So it's been kind of on my mind since we spoke last. Maria, what did you do last time and what happened that kind of made you not motivated today?
I did some boot camp type of thing and just didn't get the results.
Okay. So, and how long ago was that, Maria?
Probably a year ago.
All right. So about a year ago you did that. And how long did you do that for?
2 months.
Okay. And were you doing this with Optavia or without Optavia?
Without, 'cause that wasn't working, so then I tried something different.
Okay, cool. So did they give you like a meal plan at that place and stuff too to follow, or what were you doing nutrition wise then as well?
Nothing. I was just going to the workouts and doing like a cardio type of thing.
Okay.
a couple
And
times
Maria,
a week.
refresh my memory. Do you have any injuries or anything like that?
Sometimes my back hurts, but I don't have any like serious injuries.
All right, awesome. So you did this boot camp for 2 months. So what didn't you like about it that kind of put that sour taste in your mouth?
Well, I'd be working really hard and nothing on the scale ever changed.
Okay. What about in the experience inside the facility? Like, did you have a good trainer? Like, what was going on inside the gym?
The trainer was okay, he was just guiding us around the circuit. So I guess it's probably something I could have done at home as well. So it didn't seem worth it to go in at a certain point.
Okay. But Maria, it sounds like to me, so there's 3 pillars when it comes to actually changing the way, losing 30 to 50 pounds, right? There's 3 pillars to that. There's one's going to be your nutrition, 2 is going to be good training, and 3 is going to be the accountability to help get you there. So the main thing from what it sounds like to me is that this place provided you just the workout component of it. And like you said, you probably could have did those workouts from home. So that means that those workouts were probably a little bit suboptimal to help you get to where you need to go. And they didn't give you anything nutrition wise to help guide you. Whereas with us, we're going to help you on the nutrition end. We're going to give you proper, training in the gym. So this way you're going to actually get results. And the best part about it is we're going to keep you accountable so that you don't kind of like fall through the cracks and slip. Whereas like a place like that where they have 30 people in a room, no one's really paying attention to you. Where here, we're really going to keep a close eye on you and keep you more motivated to get started. So that's like kind of the difference between what we do versus what they do. And, since we hung up the other day, you really got me thinking because it sounds like another client of ours, Noelle, who very similar to you has tried a lot of stuff in the past. She did Optavia actually. She did Weight Watchers. She tried all different type, boxing, this, that, and the other thing. And none of it just worked for her. And she was so discouraged. And she actually told me when she signed up, she said, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove that you can't help me. That was her exact words to me. And she says to me to this day, now she's 50 pounds lighter. She says, I'm still trying to prove you wrong. So it's kind of like a running joke that we have. But Maria, I really think we should help you and we can help you. And I know we can get you to that next level. So let's do this. Let's meet up at our facility. Let's just have a conversation. You'll come in, you'll see what it's about because there's no time like the present in actually getting you motivated to do this. And motivation is just like gas in a gas tank. It's going to come and it's going to go. But if we can keep you accountable and we can make these things into habits that'll stick, you're really going to see the results that you want. Maria, I actually have an opening tomorrow at 4 p.m. I know your schedule is really tight because you said before the last time that you don't have a lot of time. So does that work for you? Can we meet up tomorrow at 4 p.m.?
Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
All right, cool. But basically my point in doing that with you guys is just show like I'm pulling it out of her, right? I'm pulling it out of her. I'm explaining it to her. I'm calming her down. That's the best way to kind of go about and just having a conversation with her because I know I can help her. I know that she's better off inside our facility than not. So Laura, what do you think? What was different in the approach that I used versus the approach that you used?
You kind of brought more value into it, but I really don't think she would even stay on the phone that long with you if I tried to do that. Just because of her own personality, it seems like, but
well, it's just hypothetical.
Yeah.
Do you think because like this last bit, I just didn't talk for a long time, would someone likely just kind of back off from the conversation, do you think?
They might. Depends on how engaged they are.
I think one thing you can do in that situation when you're in the sales seat and you start to monologue a bit, right? Like Anthony was doing, you ask them questions to allow you to keep going, like permission, right? So you can ask them like, is it all right if I share that with you? And then they'll say yes, right? You remind me of my client, Noelle. Is it all right if I share with you her story really quick? I think it'll make a really big impact on where you're at right now. Yeah, sure. Okay. Right. You can start to ask them permission and questions as you go along this path because then they're more engaged and they don't get lost in your flow. But sometimes people just need to hear that, right? They just need to hear the analogies and be talked through it and shown the value and that kind of thing. So it works both ways. But if you find or believe that somebody's not going to be as engaged with your conversation, it's really easy to just ask permission to keep going, because they're not going to say no, right? And if they say no, then they're not a buyer, right?
Right. I think the thing is too, is like when I'm talking and when I was talking to her, quote unquote, I actually believe that I can help her. And I think that just genuinely comes across. So you gotta just have that confidence to know that when you're speaking to someone that you're gonna be able to help them. Bryce, what are you thinking over there? I see you holding your chin the whole time. What are you thinking?
Well, the way that like she was talking in the first part of the call, it was like very, very monotone, not really interested at all. And then, like you said, when she started talking about Octavia, she kind of like picked up a little bit. And then it just seemed like she just completely lost interest because she was like, I don't know. It sounds like she got all flustered. And it was just very weird to see like someone act like that, because I personally haven't experienced that before.
Yeah, but then as a salesperson on the phone, Bryce, when you pick that up, then you need to go back to like that Optavia talk. So something about that Optavia experience she had brings happiness. Maybe she actually lost weight when she did that, right? Maybe that's the first time in her life that she lost weight. So that brings her back to that. So now what you have to do is kind of put what you do in that, whereas you have to kind of relate it to that. So, all right, so whatever, Mary, Mrs. Jones, whatever her name was, what did you like about Optavia? Oh, I love the schedule of the meals. Oh, perfect, Maria. That's exactly what we do with our meal plan for all of our clients as well. We schedule it out just the same exact way. So you're going to have no problem with that, or whatever it is. You have to find, if that's the case, if that's the truth with that lady, if she did have a good experience, you have to find what that is and then match that.
Yeah.
And try to better it for her. Because then you keep her in that state. And if you guys follow like the Wolf of Wall Street, this is like when he talks about like tone. That's perfect tone. Like that's tonality. Like she was monotone, then it perked up. So now that she perked up, you have to keep her in that perked up kind of state. Because now you kind of piqued her interest. And she's not scared anymore. She's comfortable. Did you hear that, Greg?
Yeah, that makes more sense. She'd be willing to talk about something more positive like that.
Yeah. All right, we kind of beat this lady's story up, but that was an interesting call for a lot of reasons, which is why I wanted to listen to it. And remember, you're going to get all different things. All these things are going to happen all the time. You just got to, like Jimmy said, you can't be annoyed after the call. Just got to, okay, what can I do different? Which is exactly why it's so important that we're on here right now, listening to it, critiquing it, learning from it, role-playing what we could do after. Because all we can control are our actions. We can't control her actions. So it's only going to make you better for the next time, because now the next time you guys get a call and the person's monotone, but then picks up, what are you going to do? You're going to, okay, automatically, well, what happened there? Tell me about it. And you can relate to them more. So good job, Laura. That was a tough call. Like they said, and I think you did well on the call. I just think it's a little bit more elaborating on things and not rushing to get through the question.
Yeah, me too. I think you did a good job. It's just like, it was just a tough prospect. Like she was a tough prospect. She's got a lot of pain and she's really scared. And it takes a lot of skill to break through some of that psychological stuff on a 15-minute call, right? So tough call, but yeah, if we just get into the emotion and kind of meet her where she's at and get her to divulge a little more about the positivity of certain experiences, then we may be able to actually close her in the future. So, yeah.
All right. Ellen, do you have a call we can listen to?